to ashes were falling down. Slaves to the men that stole the crown. There's a warning sign that bleeding sun. You don't want to see because you're having fun. Those who control all the information celebrate and lie to the people to keep them watching. And the walls come crashing down as the war at home reaches your town. You have no choice, it's safe and clean. We all submit to the war machine.
Stephen Bryant, can you hear me? Holy smokes, 4882. Hi.
Send a call for a brawl in a foreign land. We slide their advantage through the door, getting rich off the blood of the fighting poor.
Finally, I got this to work on the very first try. Toys, coin games, love, playhouse, rage, fun, and more. Thank you, Stephen Bryant, Michaela Shank. Now can you hear me that I've got the music down? That was a song by my friend Jordan Page, Still Breaking Up. Ugh. It never fails. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I wish you were my dad, Yashiro. That always makes me so sad when I hear people say that. Shonk, Michaela Shonk. I'm so sorry. I don't have my glasses on, Michaela. I couldn't see it. And apparently I'm still breaking up. I did get a notification from my StreamYard that would help if I plugged it in directly. So I guess that's just one more thing. I got to buy a 50-foot lightning cord or whatever they're called. So hello, today's topic, I'm going to be talking about victims and victimhood. Golly, I'm breaking up. Audio is better, but they say I'm breaking up. Which is it? I don't know if it's on my end or your end. Hi, Destiny Weber. Am I breaking up on your end? All my sons are great, but we're not talking about that. I'm talking about if you can hear me or not. I'm going to disconnect my Bluetooth. Maybe that will help slightly. Unpair. Yes. Done. Maybe that has something to do with, I don't know. All right. Well, I'm just going to get started and just pray to the gods or the goddesses that it turns out okay or becomes better. I don't know. But today I want to talk about victims and victimhood. And speaking of, I almost became a victim again about an hour ago. I went on my regular evening walk and I was filming these silly birds because they're just funny to me. They're little fat ducks without tails and they're black and they got these real red bills. And I just think they're so funny because they squawk. And then I look down at this concrete edge that I'm standing on where there's this like 15-foot or 20-foot wide moat that just goes all around Lake Okeechobee. And I look down and there's a head, a foot and a half long. It's an alligator. And his body's completely sunk. But if I would have taken one step into the water, I would have been right on top of him. And I just about Amber Hearded myself. I backed up and I just pushed stop on the recording of the birds. And then I stepped down to look at it and step back and I noticed him there and I just about ambered myself. So anyway, that was fun. If you care to look at the video, it's only about 10 seconds. I've managed to get the video on my camera afterwards and I put it on my Instagram this time. And on Instagram, I'm just on there as my name, Caleb Leverett. But today I want to talk about victims. Everybody knows what a victim is. I don't have to give a definition. I started to put together they've got these things called slides that you put in the StreamYard, and you can put up all these neat slides. And there's some of them are good, but I didn't feel the need to do it because we all know what a victim is, and the world's full of victims. We see stories about it every day. If you love true crime, that's exactly what you're watching. It's a story about a victim or a bunch of victims. There can be human victims, there can be animal victims, there can be victims of humans by animals, or victims of humans by animals, and vice versa. A poor little jackrabbit will become a victim to a coyote. And I almost came a victim to this alligator if I would have taken one more step. And we all know about victims of human beings being victims of other humans. And we've all seen it. Many of us have lived it. And many of us have been a victim. And one thing I've noticed, that people who try to deal with being a victim, I don't know why, but they love to say, what are those famous words? You've all heard it. I refuse to be a victim. I refuse to, be looked down upon or by a victim. I refuse to, struggle and let them think they got away with what, blah, blah, blah. And I don't get that, like, at all. My dad beat the ever living shit out of me when I was very small with a belt. I've talked about that before. I don't like to dwell on it, but it's what happened. Truth hurts. And many of you have seen what not only me, but my own Cheerins went through because of the family court. Like, I've kind of made it my MO. It's kind of my thing. It's like as far as people online, it's what I'm known for, showing what happens to the victims in family court. And if we aren't victims, then there's no such thing as a victim. Many of you know the R word victims, and apparently I can't say the R word on YouTube, and I don't get it. We're just talking about real life, but if you know what I mean, and you know what I mean, the R word, it's just about the most horrendous type of victim that I can imagine. The only thing that could be worse would be someone guilty of or that suffered from, a victim of death. That's about the only thing I can think of that would be worse than an R word victim. It's so weird. I'm having to censor myself or get booted. It's just the strangest thing. But many of you know R word victims. You know them personally, and you've certainly seen movies about them and read documentaries about them and watched YouTube videos about them. They're real. And to say for those people, and for people like me, and possibly even you, yeah, someone said in there, Michaela, I'm a victim of bullying. Yes, and it's okay to say that. It happened. And if I'm not, or the R word people aren't, or the people who were victims of, even natural disasters, Mother Nature, hurricanes. I live in Florida. That's a real thing that happens here, and people do die. Earthquakes all over the world, California. Tornadoes. There's tornadoes all through the Midwest. People become victims. And sometimes, again, people become victims of other people. And for some reason, I don't get it. I don't know why. But people who try to deal with what happened to them, to rationalize it, to understand it, I've got news for you. First of all, you'll probably never know why. That's one of the big mysteries that drives humans crazy. It's kind of like, religion. We don't know why or what or how or where we came from or what happens after death. We just know we're not alive anymore. And it drives people bonkers so much that they make up stories and spread them like big, gigantic lies. And everyone just believes them. But anyway, we try to, I guess it's their way of rationalizing. I will not be a victim. Well, I just don't think that's a very healthy way, at least for me, to deal with it. I am a victim. I was a victim. That doesn't mean that I stayed down there. I survived. I survived the family court. I mean, I've got that as like a title to a lot of my social media. Like I think it's on Twitter. I'm a family court survivor, and I am. It's just the facts. I do suffer from PTSD, though I've not had it officially diagnosed, and I am not a doctor, but I'm also not that stupid. Arguably, I was that stupid, but I'm not that stupid anymore. It bugs me daily. I constantly acknowledge how screwed up I am. And personally, I like to use humor, even dark humor, really dark humor. I make jokes about the boys in front of the boys about the shit that happened to me, going to jail, Blaine getting arrested at age 14 in his own mother's house. I mean, I make jokes about it, and it's not that I'm teasing them, but it's how I deal with it. Maybe it's not how you deal with it, but it's how I deal with it. I don't know how an R-word victim deals with it because, I mean, I know some, but I'm not really close to anybody. Like none of my best friends, which I don't have a lot of those either, but I've talked to people who are victims of it, and I don't know exactly how they deal with it, but I can tell that they are struggling with it. Everyone who is a victim of something struggles. But I'm here to tell you, at least from my point of view and my humble opinion, it's okay to say, yeah, I'm a victim. Now, that doesn't mean you have to stay, down licking your wounds constantly. As soon as the crime happens, yeah, it hurts. And you will stay down and you'll lick your wounds and try to, physically get yourself better. And in my case, family court, that was much more of an emotional thing. If you've watched Parker versus the Man, you got to watch the absolute worst day of my effing life. And I've had to deal with that. I've learned how to deal with it. And at first, the old way I dealt with it was the wrong way. That was using alcohol. I'm very, very open. If you're new to listening to me blabber on my podcast here, I've got several videos that I made in 2020, just a couple of 3 months after I got sober, of just me talking about what my body was going through, like physically what my body was going through. After I decided to dry up and get rid of the alcohol in my life. That was how I dealt with it at first. Now, I don't deal with it that way because as of next week, yours truly will be 22 months sober AF, mofos. I cannot believe I'm having to censor myself like this. It's just so bizarre. I still can't get over it. But that's what I did. And it was wrong, but I did it, and I'm open about it. I deal with it in a completely different way now. I acknowledge it. And now I am a gym rat. I'm down 30 pounds, like literally 30 pounds. I was up to 221. I also made a video about that in August. I believe it was August 21st of last year in 2021, where I just bared my soul in my underwear in the hotel there. I'd taken my truck back to Texas, my work truck. And I gave it to Parker, and I just decided, Ezra Hayden just reached down that one night and just said, "Hey, Dad, come on, let's go to the gym." And I didn't stay in the gym, but I went with him. And after I got back, I weighed myself, and I was 221 pounds. I'm 6 foot even. And I just bared my big, fat, nasty gut. I was under the naive misconception that if I just simply stopped drinking like I did, way back when, the gut would just go away. That's not how it works, especially when you get my age. I'm 45. That's not how it works. So I held myself to account. Again, this is how I deal with it, being maybe you call it a former victim. Maybe I'm no longer a victim. I don't know. How does that work? Once you're a victim, always a victim? Is it kind of like how they say an alcoholic is? Once you're an alcoholic, always an alcoholic? I personally don't subscribe to that mess. To me, that's just more brainwashing, mind control. I don't subscribe to that like at all. Like I don't consider myself an alcoholic like at all. Like not even a little bit. And people say, well, Caleb, but you were an alcoholic. You admitted it. You went into detail about all the times you got drunk. So you're an alcoholic. Well, I was. But do you drink? Well, but only on weekends. So you drink regularly on weekends. Well, yeah, but you're not an alcoholic. No, you're the alcoholic, Caleb. You talked about it. You had to have to go to sleep. I don't have to have it all now. Why do you drink? Well, I just like to hang out with the boys and, unwind. Oh, so you're wound up? You have to unwind because you're wound up? What are you so wound up about? You use a chemical to unwind? So maybe you're the alcoholic and I am not the alcoholic. So I don't know if that works the same way. The victimhood, being a victim, maybe I know I was. I've got video proof that I was, as were my cheerings. They had to put up that crap too. Most of what y'all have seen, that's like the very tip of the proverbial iceberg. A lot of that suffering was done in silence, which is the way most perpetrators of victims like it. They don't want their shit broadcast. They don't want cameras in front of them because they can't get away with their crap. Unfortunately, that's where a lot of kids and even a lot of parents, divorced parents are. They suffer in silence because it sucks. Because half the time you start whining about online or something, or even to your friends in real life about what's happening, and nobody cares. For the most part, they're like, oh, okay, yeah. You got shit better? Okay, yeah, whatever. She took you to the cleaners, huh? yeah. Oh, nobody cares for the most part. So a lot of people don't even bother talking about it. I talked about before the Parker movie went viral. I talked about it with my friends and my close friends and some of my family. They saw it. They knew I was at least mostly telling the truth. But I'm sure they even at some point they got to this point like, Jesus Christ, Caleb. We can only listen to so much of this negativity. It sucks, but we are helpless. We can't do anything about it. And so, a lot of times I just, let's screw it. I just wouldn't talk about it anymore. And that's what happens to a lot of victims. They think, well, nobody's going to believe me anyways. There's movies made about that. Nobody's going to believe me anyways. Why should I say anything? So they suffer. Case in point. Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. I'm not going to make this whole thing about them, but it's a very good example. Amber Heard, the convicted, provable liar, is famous for saying, go tell him, Johnny. Go tell him. I, Johnny Depp, am a victim, a victim of, almost said the DV word. Can't even say that on YouTube. I'm a victim of blah, 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 blah. Y'all know what it is. And this is the reason, I know a lot of you don't get onto the Johnny Depp stuff, but I just find it fascinating. He's like, yeah, I'm a victim. And he was. And he's open about it. See, I think Johnny, that's the reason he won. I think he was open about his own shortcomings, the alcohol, the jars of drugs. Probably can't even say the C word, the white powder. Probably not. He was real open about it. He's real open about his shortcomings. And he's like, yeah, I was a victim. And I think, though, some people might have disapprove of his, crazy rock star lifestyle, he owned up to it. I think it's how he won. That and having his handy dandy camera to get the turd master caught in the act. And y'all wonder why I used to use this thing, because the camera doesn't lie. If you are being a victim of a bully or parental alienation or any other myriad of words that YouTube would probably demonetize me for, People lie with their tongues all the time, but you know what doesn't lie? This. And yes, I know you can Photoshop and edit videos, but that is exactly why I never or didn't edit the Parker movie. 72 minutes of, the first 4 or 5 minutes were just sitting there boring. But I didn't edit it on purpose because I didn't want even anyone to say, well, there's one tiny edit there. We saw it. What else is there? There are no edits. And the cameras don't lie. I don't know if y'all are talking to each other or talking to me. Pammy Lewis, I've told my husband's friends that have custody issues. Anything you buy for kids, keep the receipt. Best thing is to pay with the bank or credit card. That way you always have proof. From one friend is accent GovChild. Not sure what that means. Michaela, you cannot say DA. They call it DV, the V word. Yeah, you can't say it. I don't know why. I don't even know. I forgot. I can put this up. I don't even know if I can say that last word. I mean, it used to on Facebook. I got zapped for saying that. Well, I don't really want to get into the politics of that. I think we're all victims of the mass hysteria around the COVID-19 thing. Sonoma, Caleb, I'm here. Please notice. I see you, man. Okay, I'm seeing. I see you. Let's see. Petrichor 42 just caught up on your story, man. Way to keep your cool and staying persistent. Glad your kids got to choose. Well, they finally, Petrichor 42, they finally got to choose, but it wasn't until years later, till 2017, when the very honorable Judge Sarah Kate Billingsley of the 446th District Court there in Ector County, Odessa, Texas, said that they could choose where they wanted. But thank you. Yeah, I'm happy about them. I'm glad. I'm also glad that's over. I'm going to use that as a segment into what something else that I've talked about that I want to keep talking about, because and only because it is ongoing. I'm still in a legal battle in the state of Texas over my 2017 win. I was awarded primary custody of my then 14-year-old son, Blaine, who is now about to be 19 next week. Woohoo! Happy birthday, Blaney boy. And it's still not updated. And I've got several videos on here in the last couple of 3 months where one's a recording of a conversation that I had with a representative with the Texas Attorney General's office that some people have threatened me with using that to shut me up. And I have to be very careful how I say this. Maybe threaten isn't the word. Maybe a really sly lawyer would get me on that one. But it's just funny how people who have screwed me over, such as my current attorney, Gavin Norris, who was the same guy who pulled a miracle and worked his magic when I got custody of Blaine. He's the one that brought it up and possibly sounded to me like he's going to try to use that against me. He's trying to take himself off my case. Come to find out, last I heard from him, the judge wouldn't sign off on it. I don't know why. Hadn't heard from him since. That's been over a month. It's been 5 years since I got Blaine. The paperwork still isn't updated. My lawyer wanted to fire me. I've got the emails. He tried. He filed it. The judge denied it. That was a month ago. So not only can I not move forward and get my stuff updated, but my own attorney doesn't want to be my attorney. And I can't help but wonder why. And if you watch the video I put up March 23rd, and then about 10 days later, so April 1st, yes, it was. I remember, as I made a mention of April Fool's Day. On April Fool's Day, April 1st of this year, I made another video and I talked about this, and I suspected that maybe he wanted me to fire him. Maybe there was a legal advantage that he would know, being an attorney, that I wouldn't necessarily know because I'm not an attorney. Come to find out that it looks like he really, really, really wants me to fire him, and I've not done so. And I suspected back then that there's a reason I shouldn't, and I'm come to find out, looks like I was right. I don't know why I was right, but it looks like I was right. It's kind of awkward to have an attorney who is legally bound to represent me in my best interest and nobody else's, including his own. Oh man, what a tight pickle Gavin must be in. And people may be wondering, why the hell are you talking about this? That's like privy stuff. Well, it is. But I'm the only one having to suffer here. I'm the only one whose account is still not updated with the AG's office. I'm still having to deal with these creditors and these people coming after me. I still have to deal with it. My credit is shot all to hell. I can't, I'm like paralyzed. I've lost all these truck titles. They confiscate them. Can't get my passport. Been trying for years, 4 years to get my passport. Still can't get it. I don't know. Damnedest thing I've ever seen. But I've got time. I've got patience. This victim here has learned, if I've learned anything, my God, I've learned to be patient. This victim has learned to be patient. Because I've gotten in a hurry before. And usually when I feel pressure to do something and I make the wrong mistake or the wrong decision, and it always winds up being a mistake. But this time I do obviously want my file updated. I do want this nightmare to go away, but it hasn't gone away and it's not going to go away anytime soon, is what it looks to me like. And people wonder why I keep ding-donging and drip, 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 drip. I won't let this go. And they're right. I won't. I will not let this go. People say, Caleb, that's in the past. You've got to let it go. Like the chick from Frozen. And I'm like, well, okay, fine. Well, how about they let it go? How about all those years, all those assholes that came after me and are still coming after me? How about, why don't you get a hold of them? Tell them to let it go. Well, yeah. Let me see if I can get the Andrew Christie. I've always noticed that in time, when we don't notice it much, it tends to just work out in due time. Not sure what that means. Bullying. Whoa, dude. Bullying me for no reason. Who's bullying you? I've been paying attention, but I'm just glancing through there. I'm not sure if someone else bullied. There's only 20 something people in here. Let's see. Brad McNaughton. Give me one tip to improve willpower and how you overcame self-destructive behavior. Okay. I can do that. One tip to improve willpower. Whatever it is that you're struggling with, and I can only put it into relation to what I struggled with, which was wanting to see my kids. I loved my kids so much that I was not going to just simply give up. Though it's, that's what they want me to do back in the day. That's what they tried to get me to sign my rights over to my own kids in order to make all the money problems go away, which I refused multiple times. And how I overcame the self-destructive behavior. Well, it kind of goes back to the same thing. The love of my kids. Still don't really think that much highly of myself, but I think a lot of my kids, a whole lot. And I just looked around and I looked at my belly and I looked at my pocketbook and I looked at my fog and my headache, which was the alcoholism, the self-destructive behavior. And I've just learned, I was hearing stories about people younger than me, dying of alcoholism. And I started having, shortness of breath and that brain fog. And I finally just made up my mind, screw this. I'm not drinking anymore. Again, that goes back to what are they pushing in Hollywood? Everyone pushes alcohol. Think of your most A-list actor. Some of these people I even like Snoop Dogg, but I mean, the dude, he pushes some kind of wine. Deadpool guy, Ryan Reynolds, pushes some kind of gin. They've all got their own pet alcohol, and you got to ask yourself, why are they pushing that? And I looked around and I just figured it out. Movies and Hollywood and country songs and rock and roll are always pushing alcohol, and then rock stars tend to die young because they go nuts and can't handle it. Lots of movie stars die young because they go nuts and can't handle the alcohol and the booze and the women. And I just realized my kids, though, even back then, 2 years ago, let's see, they all turned another year. The last three all turned another year older this month. So we'll just call them 19, 21, 23, and then Lund will be 17. So back then they were 15, 17, 19, and 21. And though they were bigger, I felt like they still needed me only because they kept coming to me for questions about life. They still come to me to this very day. To this very day, they still come to me. Even Parker, the big one, that are he's out on his own doing his thing, of which I still cannot talk about. Believe me, the time's coming when some things that he's doing will be very, very public. And I can comment on anything about that because it'll be public. But all I can say is he is a professional horse trainer and he's doing well. But anyway, they still come to me for advice. And I realized back then that was a motivation for me to overcome my own self-destructive behavior of drinking. When you're drinking, you've got the brain fog. Whatever it is you're doing that is self-destructive that you want to quit, it's causing you to do something and act differently to yourself and to your loved ones that you even notice and don't like. And you may not notice it, but your loved ones, they will notice it, especially if it's alcohol. They'll notice. It's love of them. Do it for them. Don't even do it for yourself. You have to be the one to do it for yourself. You yourself has to do the work. But to convince me why I needed to do it, because again, I didn't think that highly of myself. I still really don't think that highly of myself. But God dang, I love my kids. And I'll still go to the end of the earth to protect them to the very best of my ability. Obviously, hopefully I'll be, die before them. I don't want it the other way around, but until my dying day, I've just made up my mind. This alcohol crap is for the birds. I wake up every day a little bit more broke and just feeling, my joints are always it just feels like there's rust in all my joints and the brain fog. They would call and, I remember specifically even back then, Hayden would say, "Hey Dad, I want to go work out." And I was like, yeah, I do, but I'd already started drinking and I'd had to say no because I couldn't be out drunk driving because, I sure couldn't afford that. And I missed out on that and I hate myself for it. I regret that I missed out on workouts and a few other things towards the end. Towards the end, it just got a little worse and a little worse, because by then I didn't have to be sober to drive from Odessa to San Antonio. I'd already so much time passed. I already lived down there. So it was just my drinking was getting worse. And it got to the point to where what, yay much used to do the trick, it took yay much or yay much. It took more and more and more. And I finally said, what means is there at what point does that end? And it didn't look good. My belly was growing. I felt like crap. And so that's all I did. The love of my kids. Screw this. I'm done with it. And now here I am. December 3rd of last year, I'd already been sober about a year and a half. I said, you know what, Blaine, I think I'm going to go with you to the gym. He was like pushing me to go with him. When he first came to live with me, like pushing me. Like, come on, let's just go. And he started teaching me all that he knew about fitness, about nutrition. And it just absolutely blew my mind that he knew so much more in his 18 years than I knew about it. I'd been on this earth back then 44 years. And it's just the coolest thing. When you start learning things from your kids, it's just the coolest thing. And so December 3rd, I started my regimen of working out just about every day. 7 days a week. Every few weeks, we'll take off a few days. I've had to start. The last couple of months, I've started taking off a day or two because I just can't keep up with them. But I've lost a lot of weight. And when now I've got these wrist straps. I had these things on the inside of my elbow, the tendon between the muscle and the bone. I was gripping so hard and I was pulling so hard that I ripped both of them. And it was the most painful thing. So I'd take off like 3 or 4 days. I could go do legs, but I couldn't do anything with my arms. And I'd order these straps that go around my wrist, and it's got this metal hook. And so now I use those, and I've used those for about a week now. And I use them again today. I'm going to be so sore tomorrow. I won't be able to see straight, but I can go ahead and use, and I can pull down and get my lats and my back and all that stuff. Anyway, those are just things that I've learned from Blaine. And again, the 3rd of this month, June, that was 6 months, and I'm down 30 pounds. And I'm on a rampage about screw alcohol. I just can't stand it. Johnny Groman, I've been sober now 14 years and stopped smoking for 6 months. Hell yeah, cigarettes are just as bad, dude. They're terrible. I still dip snuff, and I know that's not good for me, but nobody can convince me that snuff is bad for the human body as burnt tobacco. But hell yeah, good job, man. I remember you. Yeah, we've talked before. We've emailed before. Email me back. I remember talking to you about getting your story out there. Either you didn't send it or I missed it, or I sorry about that. But if you still want to do that, email me, Johnny. Michaela Shonk, I broke off our friendship on March 6th, 2022, and we haven't talked since. Okay, y'all must be talking amongst yourselves. Rabbit on great advice. Thank you. Alcoholism is a killer, and a sad face. It is. It'll kill you, and it will absolutely shatter your family. And once you get sober, you'll feel better. But part of my sobriety is acknowledging, and this is what AA talks about, although I never, ever, and never will get involved with AA. I just have a philosophical difference. I'm glad they exist, but anyway, they talk about acknowledging your wrongs, acknowledging people you've done wrong in the past, and that part about it I really do like. If you stay drunk too long, you're going to hurt people by not attending, by slurring words, by not being yourself, especially whenever there's a conflict with somebody else. And if you have naturally violent tendencies, then it's even worse for you. So if you've done these horrible things, once you get over, make it right with those people. and don't gaslight them. And I'm sorry for what you made me do to you. That's not an apology. You have to have sorrow and be shameful for what you did because of your poor choices to get into alcohol. Danon Datera, you're a great role model. We can all see it and hope you do too. Well, thanks, Danon. I try to be. If nothing else, I'm a great role model of what not to do with your life and screw it up like I did by making 4 kids with a woman that you aren't compatible with. That's not a good, solid plan unless you enjoy struggling and getting your ass kicked in the pits of hell. I work with people that are fighting is alcohol and opiate addiction at a treatment facility. Dang. Wow. Nice. I don't think I know I'm not qualified to do such thing, but I'm really glad there are people out there that do. It's kind of like nurses. I'm not a nurse. I'm not qualified to be a nurse. I can't do what nurses do, but nurses saved my kids and saved my butt when they were born by doing things that I would just vomit over. I did real good just to cut their little umbilical cords. Daddy did good, but yeah, be able to work with people like that, I think that's outstanding. Andrew Christie, it's sad to see a few people I went to high school with in so much legal trouble because of their alcohol problems. Alcohol is true poison. Andrew, that is a mouthful and exactly correct. It is poison. It is alcohol. I don't care what you cut it with, how you make it into vodka or gin or wine like Jesus supposedly did. It's not good for the human body. In fact, it's poisonous. You can get away with it and get away with the fun effects of it because you don't take enough of it at the time, but you take too much in any one sitting and it is so poisonous that it will kill you dead. People just tend to gradually spread it out over 10, 20, 30 years and then die after they've lost all their muscle. I mean, I promise you, you don't retain muscle like that if you're an alcoholic and you're getting sloshed every night. It's just impossible. You lose. It's like, I've got this weird theory that they're trying to emasculate men in this country, possibly even the world. One of the best ways I found to do it, get them hooked on booze. Get them hooked on booze. Regardless of what Hollywood shows you, when you get hooked on booze, especially older men, middle-aged, myself, I'm 45, and the further you go, I'm sure it gets worse. You get these little round chests and these pot bellies, and you get these stick figure Bill Gates looking weenie arms, and you just look like a beanbag with toothpicks walking around. You're emasculating yourself by staying drunk. It is not cool to go to the bar and get trashed. I don't care what Hollywood says. I don't care how many gins Ryan Reynolds sells. I don't care how many wines that Snoop Dogg pushes. I don't care how popular they are and how they try to mask what it is. Alcohol is poisonous to humans, and it's not good for you. It is very true, like the old saying goes for men. Weak men create hard times, but hard times create strong men, and strong men will create good times again. Isn't that a painful cycle? I broke a cycle of not hitting my kids. I know my dad was spanked, and I know my dad spanked me. I assume my granddad was spanked, but I didn't know my great-granddad. He died before I was born. And I pray to the gods that my own kids don't spank theirs, but we shall see. I'd like to think they wouldn't, but yeah, that cycle of life. There's no sense if you're already a strong man. Why would you do that to yourself? Like intentionally like drink. There's so many better ways to deal with problems, because alcohol doesn't make your problem go away. It just postpones it and makes it worse. It postpones your anxiety temporarily, and then when it wears off, it increases your anxiety and just makes your problems and how to deal with them even worse. And then you do it again the next day and the next day, and then before you know it, you're pushing all your problems back, and the dominoes fall and the house of cards just comes falling down. That's exactly how it messes with your family. Let's see, which one of your cheerings you think looks like your personality the most? I don't know. They're so different. All of them resemble me in some way. I don't know that I can. I don't know. I really don't. I guess you'd have to know not just me, but know my kids. I'm sure people who know both of us or all of us would be able to answer that, but I'm not sure. Dan and Ditera, I'm so glad you're against spanking, even though it happened to you. So many parents use it, having happened to them, as an excuse. Yep. What are their famous words? I was spanked as a child, and look how it turned out. Well, you're spanking your kids. You're hitting your kids. Apparently, it kind of messed you up, man. It's okay. You're as messed up as the rest of us, but do your kids a favor and teach them self-discipline. That's the big argument I get when people just say, oh, okay, well, I just love what you say and do, but then you go off and talk about, I got every God-given Bible thumping, beer drinking American right to spank my cheerings. Oh, God, I've got to teach them some discipline. Well, teach them self-discipline. That's what I did. You get down on their levels. If they're 3, get down on a 3-year-old level. If they're 15, get down on a 15-year-old level. That's how you teach them self-discipline. If they break something, you don't have the money to replace it. Say, I'm sorry, dude. I want you to have the best in life, but if you won't take care of your stuff, it's gone, and you can figure out how to buy your own, because I can't afford to keep buying it. Yeah, that's my debate whenever people tell me you got to discipline your kids, and okay, well, teach them self-discipline. Teach them how, because all you're doing is teaching them to succumb to threats and of violence as a reason to behave. I mean, yeah, that I guess it works in some instances, but I don't need threats of violence for people telling me, Caleb, you shouldn't murder anybody. I have a conscience, and I don't want to murder anybody. I want people to live and let live. But there's Pentagonus gorgillus, whose name I still probably butcher. But you think there should be a law banning hitting kids? No. And that's going to sound backwards. But my reason is, though I would love to be able to use that, I guess, in a case to make people not do it. The only reason I say no is in my experience, when you get governments involved to make more laws, criminals don't obey laws. It's kind of like the school. Can you say shootings on here? I don't know. The thing in Uvalde. It sounds like on the surface a good idea, the gun-free zones, and well, if we just ban all firearms, then nobody will get a firearm. Well, Murder's already illegal in this country. I mean, it's in many states punishable by death, and lots of murders know it, and they obviously don't care. The reason is, if you make it, quote unquote, against the law to spank your kids, assault is already against the law. You can't assault people. That's already a law. The problem I have with it is the politics and the trillions of dollars involved with the modern family courts. If you made it against the law, then it's just one more way for people who are experts at manipulating the system could easily, potentially set somebody up, frame somebody for hitting their kids. And again, I will be the first to say, as anti-spanking as I am, popping a 3-year-old on the butt just to get their attention, that's not spanking. But if it's against the law, it's by definition hitting. Some person that doesn't like you goes, whoop. Hey, that Caleb Lever guy, I just saw him. He's always talking about not hitting his kids. I saw him, pop his little 3-year-old grandson. And I don't have a grandson, but I saw him pop his 3-year-old grandson. We need to make it's against the law. So we can put him in prison for 5, 10, 15 years for assault of a 3-year-old. That's the reason I don't. I'm against it. Again, it in theory, in an ideal world where if somebody did hit them, like really hit them, then they would be punished. Yeah, it's in theory, it sounds great, but in reality, it's just another way for manipulators to manipulate the system. What? No, dude, that's just weird. No, don't strangle your kids. Like, what the hell? Here, let's see. The light in me. We should focus on self-love far more than discipline. They are very hard on themselves as is. Also, we should teach them de-escalation techniques. I like that. Yeah, that's one thing as hard and critical as I am of modern policing in America. I praise Officers Spinks and Rocha, the Odessa Police Department they were in the Parker movie, for doing that exactly what you're saying. They de-escalated the situation, and they're rookies on top of that. They pulled up to the house. They figured out what was going on. They figured out, who I was, who she was, who Parker was, and they figured out what the struggle was, and they de-escalated it and split. Same thing with kids. Figure out what the problem is. That's why I don't hit them. That's why I never hit my kids, even when they drive you up a wall. They drive you bonkers, going up and just nitpicking each other, but just slapping them. All you're teaching them is to be sly and get away with what they're still doing and not get hit. Then it becomes a game. But to de-escalate, like the light in me is saying here, it means to, hey, let's just take a break. I'll be the mediator. You're cheering number 1. You're cheering number 2. And he did this and he did that. And you talk the problem out. And you do that long enough and they catch on. And it fixes itself. We should focus more on self-love than discipline. It's kind of hard for me to want to teach someone self-love. I don't know that I love myself. I don't know, maybe. But like I said, discipline and what most people think of discipline, is hitting or taking something away or grounding. I didn't do any of that crap. I taught them to self-discipline themselves. If for no other reason, we ain't going to fight because Dad's just going to just talk our ears off. And he's going to talk and he's going to give examples. You know, kids are funny. I agree. They helped everyone feel seen and heard, including your son. Yeah. Well, I mean, the beef really wasn't with me. I was just filming, and I was the delivery guy, but it was between him and his mother. But yeah, they let. That's one cool thing. Right after she said something about pressing assault charges and just yak 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 yak, Parker just politely interjected, "May I say something? You saw that police officer? Yes, you may." Yeah, that's de-escalating right there. That's why Officer Brandon Spinks gets a big thumbs up. He let the other party. They let Parker speak his mind. How are you, Dad? I'm doing well, Tanner Lister. I swear one of these days I really am going to go get my glasses. I just haven't done it. My parents have always told me that as long as you don't start a fight, you have every right to end it. Yeah, that's true. That's called self-defense. Absolutely. I agree with that 1%. Some people mistake me as a pacifist, and I am absolutely not a pacifist. And I taught my boys that very thing. You don't ever, ever pick a fight, and you certainly never bully anybody, especially someone weaker than you or more insecure than you. And they all know that. Like, it's just natural instinct. My kids have never, ever been the bully types. But someone starts some shit, you end it. And they have, especially Parker. Jesus. Sometimes I still don't know how I got that boy raised. He got in a lot of fights. That boy can scrap. Of course, see, I mean, he's a horse trainer. I mean, he's tough. He is absolutely tough as nails. So that shouldn't be very surprising. Is it considered a bad parent if I dude, what is your deal? Because my stepfather used to strangle me before losing custody of me. Yes, I'm sorry that happened to you, but you can't strangle your kids, dude. Even spankers will tell you can't strangle them. Like, I'm sorry that happened to you, but yeah, I thought that would go without saying. You cannot strangle your kids. Even in states where they allow spanking, you cannot strangle them. And if that did happen to you, I encourage you to get some help. I don't know your specific situation, but I encourage you to get some help because that's not okay. You cannot strangle anybody, and only in self-defense, which that I guess goes without saying. Oh, where's that? Hang on, I missed one. Anonymous. Why did you post your child's issues online, and did that help them? Good question. Unless it's a loaded question. Either way, I can still answer it, and I can still beat you if you are trying to set me up, because you won't win this. I've been at this a very long time. The Parker movie and the ones that come after that, those are all like I said, the proverbial tips of the iceberg. Things have been going on for a long, long time, and I lost every time I went to court. Every time I got sued, nobody believed me. I lost money and time with my kids every single time. And that's why I did it, because the cameras don't lie. And did that help them? I guess that's a subjective. That's subjective, I guess. In my opinion, in the short run, no. Well, in the very, very short run, yeah, because we got to go. The cops said we were free to go. But in the medium long run, no, because I went to jail for it. In the long, long, long run, did it help them? I think so. My kids still to this day call me occasionally and find out. Well, two of them live with me, but Parker still calls occasionally, just chat. get advice, you know. So that's all I ever wanted, is to be, when I'm an old man with lots of gray hair and they're grown men themselves, I wanted them to feel comfortable calling me, because they know me. Now, did it particularly help that I don't know. I mean, I went to jail for not kicking him out. Maybe I wouldn't have gone to jail if I hadn't recorded it. I don't know. I almost got involved back then, and one of the judges had to recuse himself after they threatened him. I don't know that that really helped anything, or me in particular. I do recommend people record things, and you don't even necessarily have to publish something. If you record your ex doing something crappy to your kids, man, if you've got it on video, if you can use it in court, save it for court. You know, the whole world doesn't necessarily have to know about it. I didn't publish the Parker movie for like 2 or 3 weeks. I had it ready to publish, but I didn't want to. I tried to negotiate without using, going online. I could have just only used it in court, but without getting into detail that I can't talk too much about, it was made very clear to me that there was no interest in negotiation. So, okay, fine. Click there. Well, kiddies, we're getting up we're past an hour. I started talking about victimhood, and we start talking about other things as usual. I guess I can answer a few more questions. There's not a whole lot of people in here at the moment, but what is the craziest part of the Blaine series? To me, when he gets put in handcuffs like 6 or 8 times in the time span of about less than 2 weeks at the hands of his own mother. That's the craziest part to me. The craziest part is the crooked family courts are so crooked that I actually won. That's crazy to me. But when you get honorable judges in the family court, such as Judge Sarah Kate Billingsley, she is the only honorable, truly honorable judge that I've ever had the pleasure of being in their court. When you actually get honorable judges in there, they tend to make great decisions. I mean, I've not watched, she's seen thousands of cases. I'm sure she's had some tough ones that I might even disagree with, but I've watched her on, during the pandemic, I watched her on, she did the Zoom live, and I just like how she manages court. She's real friendly, but she's real no BS. She doesn't show favor to any side. If anything, she shows favor to, it's the kids. Like, she shuts court down. When it's time to talk to kids, she shut everything down. She didn't care if it inconvenienced me or the opposition side or any of our attorneys or all the 9 cops in the back or the bailiff or anybody. She shut court down. She didn't give a crap which adult it inconvenienced. She shut court down and talked to my kids and asked them what they wanted. So that's pretty crazy, to get a judge that is actually competent to be a family court judge and who won't bow down to BS crocodile tears, especially when they come from another woman. I've said this 100 times because it pretty much only a woman is magical enough to see through another woman's bullshit crocodile tears. Most men, especially male judges, no. Okay, I can't put some of those up there. Why did Blaine get thrown in handcuffs? She just kept calling the cops on him. Oh, I know. I know. And you don't offend me, but I assume y'all see why I can't put certain comments up there. They don't bother me, but obviously I can't say any more about it. I'm sure you understand. Well, kiddies, it's an hour 5, and I'm kind of A little parched at the moment. Oh, do me a favor. Before I go, I'm glad I remember this. I posted a poll in my community section on my YouTube channel, and there's just under 1,000 votes in there. And the question was something like, do you ever get notifications when I go live? And 75% of the people said, no, I never get notifications. I'm just going to test this. If you don't mind, and if you find value in my channel, would you do me a big solid and try unsubscribing and then resubscribing and click the little bell? It used to drive me nuts why YouTubers just constantly, the people that I watch regularly, are constantly saying that. But now I see why they do it. Be sure to click the little bell, because, I've got, like, here in the next month or so, I'm going to be pushing 500,000 subscribers. I'm getting anywhere from 1,500 to 4,000 or 5,000 subscribers a month, and yet I've got 17 people watching this at the moment. But 75% of the people that voted in the polls said I never get notifications that you're live. So if you don't mind and you find value in my channel, try to unsubscribe and then resubscribe and click the little blue bell. And the more traction I can get, I'm going to be able to do more of these. It's just kind of hard to get on here if nobody's going to be on. He's like, what's the point of me just talking if no one's there? So anyways, so if you do that, that'd be great. If someone has gone through or is going through the bull crap that my kids, my cheerings, and me went through, send them our stuff. I've lost track of how many literally thousands of people have told me, I watched this with my mom, or I watched this with my dad, and we made a plan, and we stuck to the plan, and it worked for us. So thank you, Mr. Leverett, or something along those lines. Send them the Parker movies. Send them Parker versus the Man. Send them the Blaine series. Send them the Welcome Home video where I show where I won after the day I won custody of Blaine. Anyway, well, I'm going to get out of here, y'all. Take care. Enjoyed it. And everybody be safe. And please don't hit cheerings.